Girls stuck in Groundhog Day at the very beginning of the zombie apocalypse. Hey everyone, it's Jacobson, and this is a short retelling of the second episode of The Walking Dead. For a retelling of the first story, watch the link in the description. As soon as this video gets 300 likes, I'll release the next episode. Blair is one of the worst types of bosses a person can have, and probably has had at least once in their lives. She is selfish and overbearing and acts like the whole world revolves around her. Gina, on the other hand, accepts Blair's constant cruelty, remains quietly reserved, but is secretly fed up with her boss. They, along with other colleagues, work at an insurance company just as the news of the apocalypse reaches its peak. Blair dismisses it all as fear-mongering but believes it will be good for business. Everyone else is not so sure. Blair goes away with her fiancé Brian for the weekend and gets stuck in line at a gas station waiting for gas. While there, she notices Gina arriving. Gina walks into a small gas station convenience store and notices the empty shelves. Gina notices a woman driving by with her husband who has a nasty wound on his neck. This causes her to get a shotgun out of her hatchback and walk up to the oil tanker and demand that the driver give her the keys. Leo Rogers, a nearby national security agent in a car with his son Wendell, sees what is happening and tries to defuse the situation. Blair tries to help by promising not to fire Jeannie, but it doesn't work. Before the situation can boil over, the group hears a woman screaming from the car. Everyone looks over and sees that her zombified husband has thrown her to the ground and is gnawing on her flesh. Roger takes Jeannie's shotgun and orders his son to get in the truck. He then tells the driver that he's impounding his car when Wendell calls out to Rogers and makes him turn around. The driver tries to grab his shotgun, causing the weapon to go off and hit the tanker, killing everyone in a fiery explosion. Blair finds himself standing in the office of an insurance company. Other than a few puffs of smoke coming out of his mouth, there is no evidence of the terrible fate that took place in the other timeline. Blair struggles to process what seemed like an extremely vivid hallucination, but that doesn't stop her from belittling Gina. She even jokes that the receptionist is insane and hides a shotgun under her desk, but doesn't find it. Before either of them can figure out what's going on, Blair leaves to meet Brian for a trip to Jekyll Island. She tries to tell him about her hallucinations. Things get a lot more vivid when the same tanker truck as before pulls up to the gas station where Blair and Brian are waiting in line, and when Gina pulls up to the store, this time things are a little different. Gina doesn't go into the store, but the sequence of events still leads to Gina pulling out a gun and ordering the truck driver to give her his car. Blair rushes in and begs the secretary not to kill them like last time. When that doesn't work, Blair immediately turns to Agent Rogers. This time, however, Blair notices that he has a nasty bite mark on his wrist. A few seconds later, the woman in the car is attacked by her zombified husband and starts screaming. Gina manages to react when the trucker tries to take the gun away by punching him in the groin. She gets in the car and starts to drive away. Agent Rogers orders her to stop, but she refuses, explaining that firing his gun will blow them all up. Blair runs forward and gets in the way of the truck, causing Gina to swerve out of the way, which leads to a fiery crash and explosion. When reality returns to the insurance company office, Gina screams and Blair raises his hands up in bewilderment. The rest of the office staff look on with a mixture of curiosity and fear, all of them undoubtedly wondering if the two women have lost their minds. Gina walks outside in a daze and Blair follows. Both women quickly realize that they are repeating the same horrible events that will happen to them later that day as Blair begins to hyperanalyze everything that has happened. Gina vaguely recalls going to the gas station because she wanted a snack and the vending machine in the office was broken, which she had already told her boss repeatedly. Then she tells Blair that this time she won't go to the gas station and to leave her alone. Car with Brian to the gas station when her fiancé spots Gina holding the Dravera tanker truck at gunpoint. When Blair gets out and confronts her, Gina angrily explains that she had a flat tire and had no choice. Realizing that she won't be able to talk Gina out of her current actions, Blair rushes to Agent Rogers, telling him that his bite looks bad. She demands that he explain what's really going on and why he's in such a hurry to leave Atlanta. Rogers replies that things are much worse. The news reports that people are going crazy and biting each other. The military has also taken over the city and left only two roads open. Then Rogers starts to approach Gina and asks her to put the gun down, and again she turns around at the sound of a woman screaming as she is attacked by her undead husband. This time the truck driver takes the opportunity to run away and get into his car. Gina turns around just as Rogers pulls out his gun, causing it to go off and kill the truck driver. That would be bad enough on its own, but Wendell has already managed to get into the cab of the truck. As the truck begins to roll forward, Gina hears Wendell screaming for help. She drops her gun and runs after him. Brian demands that Blair get back in the car, but instead she goes to the truck, manages to jump on the hood while Gina tries to calm the boy down and convince him to get in the driver's seat. When the terrified child refuses, she opens the door and gets in the driver's seat. After a few seconds, the zombified truck driver gets up and bites Gina on the neck, while the car hits something and explodes. When reality returns, Gina is shaking and holding her neck where she's just been bitten. Meanwhile, Blair monologues in disbelief that the dead truck driver has come back to life, much to the confusion and dismay of her office staff. Then Gina stands up and starts giving Blair a hard time. Years of resentment erupts into an epic tirade about what a horrible, self-centered person she is. The situation escalates when Gina starts talking about how much the entire office hates her, which might not have happened if she had gotten to know her employees a little instead of talking about herself all the time. Gina ends up demanding that Blair leave her alone, just as she is about to leave the insurance office. Blair argues that Gina is really selfish since their time loop wouldn't have happened if she had stayed at her desk. Before walking out the door, Gina remarks that if Blair really cared about her employees, she would have warned them about what was going on outside. Later, Gina is arrested at a gas station thanks to Blair calling the police about having an unregistered gun. The two women begin exchanging insults that quickly escalate into a fight. Their fight is cut short when a tanker truck collides with another car, causing a massive explosion that kills everyone. After that, we're shown Blair and Gina being repeatedly killed as they try to escape the news. The last episode ends with a zombified Gina digging into Blair moments before another explosion. This shared and recurring trauma causes Blair and Gina to grow somewhat while the rest of the insurance office looks on in bewilderment. The women share snacks from the vending machine, discussing how horrible their ordeal was. When Blair feels sick and goes to the bathroom, Gina follows to comfort her. Then they sit against the wall and discuss what is about to happen. Blair explains that since the military is shutting down the city, Gina can't leave until she knows what roads are still open. And Blair knows this thanks to Agent Rogers' work many cycles ago. In response, Gina begs Blair to let her leave in peace so she can drive through downtown and get to her family. Blair acquiesces. The next time we see Gina, she's driving away in a truck and smiling, while Agent Rogers vainly demands she stop. When Brian walks in to ask where she's been, Blair asks why he never tried to help her during the countless deaths. After Brian answers with understandable confusion, Blair declares that they're not right for each other and tells him to go to Jackal's Island without her. As soon as Brian leaves, Blair goes outside and lets a couple of zombies get to her. Despite the change in common trajectories, both women revisit the same moment at the insurance office. After telling everyone to go home, Blair and Gina go to the back room to discuss what happened. Gina admits that she didn't even make it downtown. In response, Blair explains how she died. She also apologizes to Jenna for always being horrible to her. Gina responds not particularly kindly, but the beleaguered secretary also admits that Blair helped her become less of a jerk during this ordeal. After this awkward reconciliation, Blair suggests they try something new to break out of the vicious cycle. The two women head to a gas station and pounce on the truck drivers just as the woman in the car is attacked by her husband zombie. Blair alerts Agent Rogers to what's going on, which allows her and Jenny to apprehend the driver and easily take his keys. The plan works perfectly, but at the cost of killing Wendell when he approaches Zombie to see what's wrong with him. Despite everything they have seen, both women are still in mental turmoil as they drive away. In the car, Blair tells Jenny how to get to her family, which helps them talk again. Gina reveals that she became a secretary despite having a degree in marketing. She had no serious connections to get the job, but her self-confidence and cowardice prevented her from proving herself. Blair responds by saying that she hasn't broken up with Brian because she was afraid of being alone after her father died of cancer after a police roadblock. Both women confess to each other that they are still afraid of what will happen to them next. As the women approach the overpass, the sound of honking horns and screaming convinces them to stop and see what's going on. They look out onto Interstate 85 and see a swarm of zombies flying out of Atlanta. Hungry-looking zombies heading toward a large group of people trapped in a multi-lane accident. They decide to help the people after Gina gets a hose and douses the road with gasoline. Blair throws a cigarette on it. When the cigarette doesn't work, Gina convinces Blair to light one of her favorite neck accessories. They throw it off the overpass and create a wall of fire that slows or stops the zombies from catching up to the people running out of their cars. The women only have time to enjoy a few seconds of righteous satisfaction before the tanker truck explodes, throwing them into the air. Luckily, they are far enough away. The fire only burns them. Rising from the ground, Gina checks her watch and realizes they made it to the moment they were supposed to die. Blair asks if she thinks they're dead. She agrees since she wants to see her father. Gina responds with the theory that Blair infected her with his personality disorder, which in turn led to them creating a shared delusion. This leads to another round of friendly insults and they walk down a deserted highway together.